There she is. How's it, but
Hi, my boy. Yes, I swear it doesn't matter how many times you do this, but you're always going to make the most stupid mistakes ever. Like, I hadn't flipping pushed the microphone in the whatever the connector thing in here to my microphone, the cord into the microphone far enough, and I was like, "Fuck! How can this bloody not be working?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Bastard!" But anyway, that was.
how's it going, my man? It's been
Yeah.
it's been 2 weeks now, bro. So you got your computer fixed up. How did that go?
Yeah, but yes, what a mission, eh? Well, we know that it just died. Like literally last Sunday, I was using my Mac, and then it wasn't charging, and I was like, "Fuck, maybe there's something wrong with the charger." And then I was still using it, like no problem. And then I was like, "Oh, I'll try use it as long as I can until it runs out of battery." And then I just couldn't turn it on again. And I took it to flipping the Mac store. Well, it's like a reseller store here. And they're like, "Yeah, your whole computer is gone. Your whole logic board is just like, you need replacing." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, seriously? Like, this is the second time it's happened, bud, in a year that, and this is a high spec MacBook Pro. Like, it's fucking, it's embarrassing for them as a company, to be honest with you, because it's not like I'm even using like heavy loads of whatever, on the computer. It's just yeah. But anyway, I can't complain too much. Mac has been really good over the years, but yeah, these things happen, but
It's a constant test and a reminder that everything is temporary, and everything that we hold on to so dearly and we think is so important in our lives, at the end can disappear or be stolen or broken at any time. And at the end of it all of it we have to let go anyway. So I guess it's a little practice now of remembering that, and then like, okay, so all that work, all that stuff that you've been storing, it's okay, man. We just start again now.
Yeah, it's true. And what's also like, it's still hard to swallow, because you and I had I had all of our work that we did on that for, the Illusion of Money book course that we put together. So it's fucking all gone. I'm devastated.
That's like 20 hours plus of work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And but what's also quite interesting, so like, that's devastating, but like, you have all these other things, these files and stuff that you keep, that you're like, yeah, this is important stuff that I need. And I can't even remember half of the stuff that's on there, and now that it's gone, I'm like, oh, does it even matter? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there'll be some point in the future you're like, oh, that thing. But I think a large majority of this stuff is like, yeah, stuff you're probably not necessarily going to use again, which is also a good lesson.
But, and think about it, all this stuff across the world that every single human being is storing on their laptops, on their hard drives, on their clouds. How much information is out there, right? And before digital, all of this stuff was on paper, bro.
Yeah.
Like we've got this thing going on where, we're starting to put our teams back on board ships, and there are consultation forms that we have to keep. So if you come on board, you have a service, you do a consultation form, we have to legally keep that form for 2 years on board a ship. So you can imagine, right? Some of these ships are doing literally thousands of treatments a week, right? You keep all those consultation forms stored every week, accumulated in storage cupboards, right? Paper on paper on paper on paper. Every staff member has their own file, MLC, what trainings they've done, logs, And now the managers are being asked to go back, scan, and send all of this paperwork into the office, bro. You're talking about 2 years worth of every staff member that has worked on that ship. It's like, what are we doing?
like why? It's so inefficient. Like, you know, surely we should be focusing on, like you said, getting the ships going again, you know. Like, what a waste of flipping time. But
Yeah, no, it's
it's
nuts.
incredible, isn't it? Like,
It's nuts because of some regulation, or someone's made up a rule that was like, you know what? No, it needs to be 2 years and it's got to be on file, and just in case.
it's crazy, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, humans are pretty inefficient, I think, in many things, you know. And this is like, and we created ourselves, you know. Like, this is a massive inefficiency. Like, what the hell's the point? I was listening to this podcast this week about this NHS doctor just talking about how much paperwork they have to produce as, you know, just as a doctor, you know, like they're like swimming in paperwork as a doctor. And that's, they almost have more paperwork than they do seeing patients. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what's the point in doing their job? You know, if their job is to see patients, but they spend most of their time on paperwork, what the hell's the point? It's just so inefficient. It's like
So
crazy.
inefficient, bro. And you know, we talk about energy and energy leakage as human beings. So
Hmm.
think about that. A doctor has a certain amount of focus and energy. And if you geared and got that doctor to really zone into the patient, they would make better diagnosis. They would make better prescription. They would, you know, just probably energetically be able to heal people just by showing more presence. But instead, they're so worried about freaking filling out paperwork that, you know, you get half of the doctor. I actually coached a doctor for a while, a couple of months ago. And one of the big things that she needed as a task that had been bothering her was her paperwork, bro, her records, patient records. And if you don't get the patient record done in time, it accumulates. She had something like 90 cases of paperwork that needed to be backdated and done. And this had become such a burden that it was stressing her out, causing
Wow.
her not to, you know, not to be an efficient person in the present moment.
Yeah, see, but you see, that's actually really bad. You know what I mean? Like, you know, she is getting stressed out because of something that is just like a byproduct of what she's supposed to be doing and focusing on. Um, it's hectic, but just a couple of interesting things that you said there about information. I read somewhere, some, like, you know, some point in time, that the amount of new information that is created every single day is something ridiculous. Like, I can't remember the exact thing, but just to give you an idea, it's something like, if you had to take like pieces of paper and stack them on top of each other, it would be a return trip to the moon, like something ridiculous like that, you know, like just on all the new information. And I don't know if it was paper or actually like hard disks or something ridiculous like that, like every single day, you know, like you just got to think news, YouTube videos, podcasts, blah 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 blah, like all new information. But it's just like it's incredible. But anyway, this is the more interesting part that I think. I went to this library years ago. um I actually think it might have been in South Africa, but it also might have been somewhere else in the world. um and the person that was showing us around the library said something like to the effects of this, and was a while ago, okay, like say 10 years ago, that the majority of the information that has been produced in the world is still not online, right? So like something ridiculous, like only 20% of the information ever produced in the world, this is like at that point in time, you know, um, was still written in books and was like in libraries and you know, in like secret storage places and whatnot. And that's why, like, you know, when you sort of read stuff and you go and you Google and whatnot, you're like, is that actually, you know, this including past um like doctors or whatever it is you're researching, you know, like past ancient history and stuff, like probably not, you know. And you know how much, you know how actually, I think, you know, those guys were super clever back in the day. um and all their information is still just like, you know, in libraries and in books and like in like hard format and not actually online. So like, you know, the stuff that we're reading online, you're like, oh, you have to almost take it with a pinch of salt, you know, because there's so much knowledge out there that doesn't even exist online at the moment. And that for me was like, wow, that's really interesting.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating because we forget that, you know, how many thousands of years of just modern history does the human being have, right? I mean, thousands of years, bro, right? Like they're talking like, I don't know what the date is, but like Göbekli Tepe, they were saying is what, like 11,000 years old or
Yeah, I mean, geez, I don't know, but all these things are so old, you know, like, but if like, just think, so the internet only started 20 years ago, or maybe
exactly,
25 now, you know,
exactly.
and actually digitizing information only started like properly maybe like 12 years ago, in terms of like, you know, getting old books and putting them, you know, in like PDF format, or, you know, like whatever format. um so that is incredible, but like, you know, that there's thousands of years of that have come before us that is just like sitting in, you know, in these storage facilities or libraries, whatever. um it was fascinating because I think it was on the same library, or in the same library that I found out this information. It was in the Johannesburg library, actually, in South Africa, and we got taken down into they have like these, um, not secret, but like they have these storage facilities that are underground in the library, like, you know, layers underground, right? And they had in there, and I'm not joking, but like literally it must have been 150, 250 meters long by like say 100 meters wide, and they had like and it was probably 2 meters high or 3 meters high, the floor. And within there, but they had like rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of these storage facilities and boxes and all these sort of things. And they had in this place every single newspaper that had ever been um printed in South Africa, bud. Like
You're
ever,
kidding.
whatever. I was like, you are kidding me. Like literally every day, like say the Star newspaper, whatever, they had every single day. And this was going back to like the 1800s or even like before that, and it was incredible. And they're like,
Wow.
yeah, and they had like 3 layers of these places, and it wasn't just newspapers, it was other like books and stuff as well. That I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But and just think, that's Johannesburg. Imagine all the other countries in the world, but all of them, like, you know, that are like, I don't know, just have maybe better storage over the years, or something like, or older or whatever. Like, you know, imagine the information that is hidden in those vaults. Like crazy, but
It blows your mind. It blows your mind. And as you're telling me the story, I'm just thinking about my own life. Like, we only know what we know. How much, how much is there to this world? And we just walk on our little path, you know, oh, this is our view of the world because this is what I understand, or this is what I've been exposed to. And then there's like, no, but there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this, you know, like every field, the history of that field, you know, the plans for the future of that field, you know, it's like, holy Moses, brother, just how overwhelming and massive and abundant is life and knowledge and humanity, man.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, just imagine everything that has never been recorded as well, you know, on top of that, like, you know, there's just so much information like out there that we're just not aware of, you know, and we're oblivious to, and most people don't seem to care because they're distracted. But everyone's just distracted in this day and age.
Brother, have you heard recently this whole concept of like DNA upgrade? And that right now in the solar system, we are being exposed to a new field of energy. And this energy as it comes and beams down to earth is actually activating and reactivating and awakening parts of our DNA that have been dormant. Because if you understand, storage of information, that actually our DNA stores all the information that has ever been and that ever will be, and that at certain stages it gets sort of unlocked. And so our abilities as human beings start to improve as we go through different fields of energy. And they start to, like, things like more people are starting to become aware of telekinesis and their ability to communicate with each other, that it's no longer just a fluke or once off, but it's actually happening on a regular basis. People are having, new ideas and ways of thinking that will help us now in this new time, because internally, this information is starting to be unlocked. Have you heard this whole concept before?
No, I haven't, but I mean, yes, let me know. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, I'll share some stuff with you. It's fascinating, but it's all got to do with this great awakening and what is going on, and the positioning of the Earth now in the solar system, and the position of the solar system in the greater cosmos, and these beams of energy. And they're showing that because, in the quantum field, as you look at where we are situated in space, everything is energy, right? And light is energy. And as the frequency of the light changes and we're exposed to different parts of it, so it has a different effect on us living here on this specific planet.
Yes. Once again, but like, this is like just amazing information that like almost no one would be kind of like aware of. This stuff is happening to us. Like, it's just, and the connection that we all have, like, to nature and like the planet and the ecosystem and all that sort of stuff is like so much stronger than anyone would ever know, but yeah, we just kind of think we're just like going along with our lives and but actually stuff is happening to us, which is good, because it's I think we need some optimism in the world, you know what I mean? Like with all this stuff going on, like it's we definitely need to know that there's good things happening too. I think people seem to be getting super distracted and, like, I don't know, just against each other. Like, I just don't get it, but it blows my mind, like, what is going on in the world right now, like how people are just looking for ways to kind of break down society and break down each other, and like, like, I don't know, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you and I have never been wired like that, it's just not how we are wired, but fuck, there's a lot of people out there that seem to want to just destroy us, which is ridiculous, and almost doing it like to themselves, and then obviously that affects all of us because they want everyone to feel like that, and it's just so weird, but I'll never understand that.
Yeah, that's a fascinating. But so let me share with you what happened last week, Saturday. So we have this thing every Saturday here in Miami. It's called 420 Yoga. It's this beautiful outdoor yoga class that is led by this girl called Tiffany. And it's amazing, man. There's like 150, 200 people that come to this outdoor space under the trees. She has DJs that play this incredible sort of spacey, trippy music to the whole class. Everybody rocks up, smokes their joint, gets ready. And it's a beautiful hour to an hour and a half of movement, flow, meditation, right? And so last weekend, I invite 5 of my friends to come with me. Very diverse group. I've got intellectuals. I've got guys from work. I've got my Muslim friend Imran, who's never done a yoga class before.
Cool.
I've got this Chinese girl Wingzi that came with us, who's in the tech space, and she's venture capitalist. And then I've got my other friend Sam, who's a marketing sort of hippie, very happy-go-lucky girl. Anyway, so we rock up to this class now, and it's just such a beautiful afternoon. And we start the class, and my friend Imran next to me, man, he's got the biggest smile on his face, and he looks over to me and he goes, "Do you know what I feel and see here?" And I'm like, "No, what?" He goes, "It's just humanity." This massively diverse group of people all coming together to share this beautiful experience, and you could feel the energy and the freedom and the joy, right, of a mass of people coming together just to experience being in their body and doing it with other people for a moment, right? So that was the experience. And as we're going in and we're doing this amazing class, you do the whole class with your eyes closed. So now you're just with the music and your body as she's leading you. And she's got this incredible voice. She's super good at what she does. And so it becomes like a moving meditation. And then at the end of it is a proper meditation. So we sit in there and we come into the end of the class and we go into this beautiful meditation. But I have this vision, and I sense and I feel the love and the joy and the peace of us in this beautiful space. And then out of nowhere, I have a completely different vision where a guy on the other side of the park on the road jumps out of a car with a gun, runs across the road and kills somebody.
Jeepers.
So I'm in my head, I've got these two completely different opposing dichotomies going on: the love, the peace, the joy, and now an angry person murdering another person. And the download I get in that moment was, we are all of it. It's all of it. It's the dark and the light. It's the bad and the good. It just is. That is it. It's chaos and it's beautiful order. And so when we look at the world and we see these two things, wow, man, it's not to say that, oh, yeah, we should just accept it. But in a way, you almost do have to just accept it because it is what it is, right? Like, it is the nature of things. Things die, things kill, things give life, things are born. Fuck, man. And that is just the experience that we have it. Yeah. All of it. But we do get to choose where we put our focus and where we decide to look at. And I think we really have to wake up to the fact that you've really got to choose what you are looking at, what you're listening to, because it has an effect on you. And the more that you allow and give that thing attention, you give it energy, and that energy affects you. And so we have to remember that as much shit is going on and as crazy people are doing fucked up things in the world, there are also amazing things happening and people doing incredible things in the world. And so as we dance, let us try and give energy and focus to the things that we want to see happen more in the world.
Yeah. That's so true, bud. And I mean, it's like a cliche thing, but it's so interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day. I went for a walk. We've got this like almost like it's not a canyon, but it's like a half a canyon, right? It actually reminds me of Jurassic Park, but when those helicopters like fly into Jurassic Park, like from the sea, and there's like island or whatever. It literally looks like that, like where here, just behind me where we live, like it could be that. It's so stunning. But
wow.
But I went for a walk in there the other day, and I took our niece and nephew, and because I know there's a little cave in there, and it was so I went and we took them into the cave, and then it was still sunny, but the cave is obviously a little bit dark, but there was still sunlight that came in, and I was just like shining the torch from my phone in the darkness, and I just had this thought. I was like, wow, the torch right now, like it doesn't change what I'm seeing too much, because there's still a lot of light coming in. But if it was completely dark, the torch would be like lights up the whole place, and that's almost a little bit in line with what you're saying now. Even in the darkest, or when at the darkest of times, your light will shine the brightest. Do you know what I mean? Like, it literally, and that's what we need to remember, bud. Like with all the shit that might be going on, whatever, it only takes one flippin' light for people to go, wow, one light for people to be attracted to. And if we are capable of providing that light, then we must flip and do it.
Oh, but that's beautiful. What a great analogy, bud. So true. And then you take that one level further. Like if you didn't have any light and you walked into a cave, you'd be quite scared, right? You'd
Mm-hmm.
think like, oh, there might be a snake in here, or what if I freaking trip on a rock? So it's like in the darkness, that's where fear lives because it's the unknown. But as soon as you have light, it's like, oh, this is not so bad. There's
Yeah,
nothing in here, and I can see where I'm going. And so we hold a light for each other through life.
exactly, bud. Exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, we have to realize that. We literally, so we spoke to this guy ages ago. Actually, he was the last guest on our podcast, Christopher Maher, and he said something which has always stuck in my mind. He says that like your energy speaks before you do. And I'm like, fuck, it's so true. Like people can walk into a room and you go, yes, like what's going on? Yeah. Or like, say, like someone like you walk into a room and you're like, hey, how's it going, guys? And everyone's like, yes, and ultimately you're attracted to the highest energy uh, in the room. So once again, it's just a continuation of what we've been saying. Like it's super important to be conscious of, first of all, where you're putting your energy towards, but also like the energy that you bring to something. You can literally change the sort of outcome, or the energy setup, or whatever it is, like in an environment that you go into, by being that extra positive, flippin' upbeat, you know what I mean, smiley thing. Like we literally can change so many situations just by being that and doing that. And yeah, it's powerful, but it's actually very powerful.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Energy is everything, bud.
It
Everything is
is.
energy,
It
right?
literally
We
is.
feel it, we broadcast it. It's the information, everything is energy, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
It is.
And
It
so
is.
yes, we have a responsibility to really look after ourselves so that we can bring the best energetic state of ourselves into any situation, bro. And that's it. People are like, oh, I need to change the world, and they keep looking outside for these things they have to do, when really your only responsibility as a human is to make sure that you are the best energetic version of yourself, bro, because that is what the world needs. And if everybody was focusing on that, fixing themselves, healing themselves, feeding themselves, making sure that when they do come into a space with other people, they can give rather than I
Mm,
need from you because I'm so lacking,
mm.
the right energy or the right frequency. We would all be contributing into a space to create more and to build more and to fix more, rather than this competitive old school narrative of I need to fuck you so that I can gain.
Exactly, bud. Exactly. I just don't know. Yeah, like, yeah, work together. Like, seriously, that is how we all end up enjoying this time, this short space of time on earth, more. Like, let's do that. Let's try and work together. That's the important thing.
Mm, beautiful, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think that's probably a good place to finish, just for people to think about. You know what I mean? Like,
it is.
let's all do our absolute best to think about how we are entering into certain spaces, and that we're responsible for uplifting each other ultimately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and just that it requires presence. It
Mm,
requires presence, just becoming present in the moment, because you are, when you're at home with your family, you need to be feeding into that space. And when you're at work, you need to be feeding into that space. But you can't come back to your family with your energy still focused on work, because then in the space of your family, you're not contributing. And so presence is everything. Where you are in the moment, that's where you need to be centered and with all your energy.
mm. You always have a great way of putting it, my man. And I'm glad you got the memo this morning of the gray
Yes,
shirt.
the gray shirt, bro, in action. We have to get uniforms now,
We're
bud.
obviously in sync. Eh? Oh, classic, my
Awesome,
boy.
Gareth. What a
Oh,
pleasure, my brother. Thank you, bud,
yeah,
for another great
yeah.
conversation, bro.
You
You
too, Chana. Have a flipping
love you,
good
my
one,
man.
brother. Love you too, Chana Bean. See you later, bud.
Cheers, boy.
Cheers, man. Cool, my boy. That's cool, but it's flipping, even, like just, these chats, that is a good example of like I always finish them feeling like, yeah, fuck, like, you know what I mean? Uplifted.
Yes.
It's just, we like, I don't know how you feel sometimes if you come into it. Like sometimes you might be like, like a little bit down, or sometimes you might be like you are now. But either way, I think, one of us maybe feels like a little bit like that. But ultimately, I use a bit of your positivity, you use a bit of mine, and then we both like start coming, and it's just like you always feel better afterwards. It's like,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, eh?
Dude, I'm smiling my ass off now, bro, because I
Yeah,
feel so good, man. Yes, it's
yeah,
amazing, bro.
exactly. Yeah,
And it's just such a simple dialogue, but Gareth, what I really enjoying about these conversations we've been having, and we've been doing this for over a year now, right?
yeah,
I mean,
fuck.
between the coaching and the weekly touches, it's because you and I are able to discuss real shit. Like we're actually talking about life stuff. Not
Exactly.
just like, hey, Butch, how you doing? And yeah, no, fuck it. I've just been really busy here. And like, how's the
Yeah,
wife?
fuck.
And everything's cool, but it's like authentic. It's like, fuck,
Yeah,
I'm struggling here, and
yeah.
that allows us to fucking unburden and lighten our load so that we can walk away from this dialogue feeling better about life, right?
100%, but 100%. I was listening to this podcast actually with Jordan Peterson, and he was speaking to this, I forget his name, this guy. I think he was also a Canadian guy, but um, it was actually like quite heavily focused on kind of religion, actually, like
Mm.
and but I really enjoyed it. It was just I'm finding myself more interested in that, just like the importance of faith and these sort of things. And
Yes.
um, I think that you can see there's like, I don't know, it just feels like all these people that are, what's the word? Like, what's it when you don't, when you,
Atheist?
atheists, yeah, all these people that are flipping atheists, like they almost, it feels like they're soulless as well, because they don't seem to want to believe in anything. And you can see it in a way. There's these fucking hardcore lefties that are just seem to be psycho motherfuckers that are all generally like, oh, they're not for God or whatever, like any sort of spirituality, whatever. And um yeah, they do. So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but in the podcast, the guy said he was like, I think he's a pastor or something along those lines as well. And he was like, we need to share our issues to lessen the burden, and that's just what you said now. It's important. Like you don't like, it's not like you're throwing all your shit onto me or I'm throwing all my shit onto you, but you're sharing it to lessen the load, And he's like, that's why he goes to sort of what's when you go see the priest each week,
Yes. Confession.
confession. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, he goes to confession to just help ease his load of things, and like share it, even though, who knows what the priest does with it, but like, it's at least for him a way of getting rid of, some of the kind of thoughts or anxiety, whatever he might be feeling. And but basically what he was saying is it's important to offload somewhere, along the line, and share it among all of us. Yeah, it was
Fuck.
quite a
Well,
nice
it,
way of just thinking about things.
it makes so much sense, right? Because everything is about density or lightness. And for, like us coaching people, all we're doing is we're holding a space
Mm.
which allows somebody to unpack and talk about themselves, which is exactly that. It's like you take a heaviness, you unpack it into a space where there's space, and then you're able to see things and feel things and deal with things way easier than if it's just fucking crammed up and you can't see the wood, the wood from the trees.
Mm. Yeah,
And so
definitely,
going
but
to confession or just having a conversation like this where we get to honestly, openly sort of talk about things and express our ideas or express about our frustrations, it does exactly that. It just unknots and unties. And
Yeah.
Spreads the load.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think that's actually the cause of a lot of people's issues, is not having that outlet. Like it fucking builds up, and then they react how they wouldn't normally react, and they'll, clap somebody, or I don't know, do something horrible or whatever, and shout and say something you don't mean, and it's that's as a result of not just getting rid of stuff.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, bro. So, when we see angry people, it's just because they haven't had a chance to be able to, they've got all this energy inside of them. They don't know how to deal with it. And they just need a little trigger. And it's just like a pressure pot, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, bud. Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool, buddy.
Cool.
That was cool, man.
Thanks, boy.
Yeah.
All right, my buddy.